Meanwhile, the world of evil began there already, right in the middle of our house. Good evening. The Arcane Detective here. Today's case file is on Sinclair, the 11th sinner of the Limbus Company bus department. Gender is male. Age is estimated to be 20, as that is the age when a person can get their fixer license. And height is 163 centimeters or 5'4". Sinclair wears the standard Limbus Company uniform with a red tie, white shirt, and greatcoat, with the only addition to his uniform being suspenders, which is similar to Don Quixote's uniform. It should also be mentioned that Sinclair's full name is Emil Sinclair. However, he is known as Sinclair, and so will be referred to as Sinclair in this case file. The personality report from Limbus Company is the following. Even with the volatile nature of human growth around his age taken into consideration, this sinner seems to get particularly startled or frown when spoken to. He isn't used to real combat at the moment, meaning that he may struggle to keep himself together at the sight of something as mild as split innards at first. As there may be those with violent tendencies among your crew, we recommend taking an approach focused on positive reinforcement with this sinner. He appears to possess a murderous gaze that he himself isn't aware of. This is a hopeful sign that he has the potential to grow into an expert of our company's profession with the right stimuli. The personality report is correct in referring to Sinclair's nervous behavior. Sinclair started out as one of the most soft-spoken sinners, and though that has definitely changed, especially in regards to the mistranslation incident in Peace Corp, Sinclair is definitely one of the nicer sinners, especially when compared to sinners like Heathcliff. However, as the personality report stated, Sinclair does have a murderous gaze that, though Sinclair doesn't know, is obvious, such as how Sinclair repeatedly stabbed a member of the N-Corp Inquisition, only being stopped when Don Quixote beat Sinclair back into his senses. Another example of this murderous gaze is Sinclair's Qing Association Director ID, as in the identity, Sinclair seems to go into a trance when wielding his blade. In terms of Sinclair's relationships with the other sinners, Sinclair gets along with most of the other sinners, though he is usually seen with Don Quixote. Sinclair is also the unofficial translator for Ryosu's sangrias, and can also be seen around her. It is clear that from his time spent at Limbus Company, Sinclair has grown to care about his fellow sinners. An example being when Sinclair spoke up to ask Hong Lu what he felt during the confrontation with the elders of H Corp. It is also interesting to note that despite Heathcliff hitting Sinclair with a baseball bat, Sinclair seems to have no ill will towards Heathcliff. Whether this is due to his nature or how Sinclair has grown as a person is unclear. In combat, without the use of identities, Sinclair wields a halberd called Vogel, which means bird in German. The list of Sinclair's currently known identities are Zwei Association South Section 6, Los Mariachis Jefe, Lobotomy Ego Red Suit, Moeller Boatworks Fixer, Zwei Association West Section 3, Blade Lineas Salsu, the one who shall grip, Qing Association South Section 4 Director, Dawn Office Fixer, Devet Association North Section 3, Middle Little Brother, and Thumb East Stellato 2. Sinclair's currently known ego are Branch of Knowledge, Cavernous Wereling, Impending Day, Lifetime Stew, Hexnail, Lantern, 9-2, and Tears of Tarnished Blood. Sinclair was born on November 11th to a wealthy family, as Sinclair's father owned a small prosthetic company in the town of Call in K-Corp. Sinclair lived in the town of Call and went to Cal High School. This is where Sinclair would first meet Cromer, a classmate that noticed Sinclair was reluctant to get prosthetics. Sinclair would admit this fact, and Cromer would agree that she too hated prosthetics. and would tell Sinclair she would help him not undergo the prosthetic treatment if he helped Cromer, an offer that Sinclair accepted. After meeting Cromer, Sinclair would meet another important individual. Sinclair would one day notice a classmate that had a strange red mark on his forehead. This classmate would later see Sinclair and introduce himself as Damien. The two would spend much time together before Damien would tell Sinclair that something bad was going to happen, but that he must stay strong. When Sinclair next meets Cromer, she asks Sinclair to let her into his basement, which Sinclair reluctantly agrees to, and when the two go into the basement, they discover a lobotomy corporation facility, which terrifies Sinclair. After this event, Cromer would thank Sinclair and give him 2 coins to keep. Sinclair would keep the coins, but feel guilty about stealing the key to get into the basement. So, on Christmas Eve, Sinclair planned to tell his family about stealing the key. However, this would not come to pass, as Sinclair would arrive to find Cromer and the N-Corp Inquisition murdering his family. Cromer would, at this point, take one of the coins he gave to him and order her men to take Sinclair to safety. When Sinclair awoke, he would find himself in an alleyway with Damien. Damien would tell Sinclair that he would find the courage to face Cromer. After this point, it is unclear what Sinclair did before he joined Limbus Company. However, it is clear that Sinclair was recruited after Dante, but before Otis. After the events in J-Corp, the sinners start to head to K-Corp. Sinclair, at learning the news of their destination, starts crying in distress, and though Rodion and Gregor try to comfort Sinclair, he is inconsolable. After Don Quixote caused an incident at the K-Corp immigration checkpoint, an event which caused all the sinners to be killed by the fixer Siegfried, the sinners then arrive in the town of Call to find that the N-Corp Inquisition has massacred the town. After fighting through the town, the sinners arrive at Sinclair's old house to find it burning, and Cromer standing there in the doorway. Cromer taunts Sinclair and shows that he has captured and impaled Effie, a member of the Limbus Company Before team. Otis would ask Dante if she could mercy kill Effie, an order which Dante would agree to. After fighting and killing Guido, the sinners would chase Cromer into the old L-Corp facility, where, after fighting for some time, Cromer would incapacitate most of the sinners, with Sinclair still struggling even though he was being melted down by an unknown substance. This is when Damien would appear and kill Cromer. The sinners would then be recovered by the Limbus Company after team. There is unfortunately not much to go on for speculation. Sinclair is still growing as a person, and his fate is mostly tied with Damien and his group, an organization that has a general lack of information about it, and is most likely a topic for a future case file. If there is one thing I know, however, is that keep Sinclair away from Damien's mother. Addendum 1. As we can see in Sinclair's character promo, Sinclair stands before a tree with a golden apple and a blue snake wrapped around it. Now this is obviously an allusion to the Garden of Eden and the eating of the forbidden fruit. Now, who is a character who wears a similar color of blue? It's Damien, which is not surprising, as I have already pointed out that Damien has some part to play in the future of Sinclair, but this little detail has given a clue that shows Damien may try to tempt Sinclair. What Damien will tempt Sinclair with is unknown, but it could be anything from getting his family back to the power to break out of his metaphorical shell. Regardless, I do find this interesting, as depicting Damien as a snake has some interesting ramifications, and shows how Damien's goal may not be as wholesome as previously thought. Sinclair also has a new ID in the form of Hyosu Pak U-Brain Sinclair. That's it for this case file. I hope you all have a good day, and as always, good evening.